I'm gonna read through the descriptions of the episodes of Sabrina's Secret Life and give my thoughts. And this is also a test to see if I still sound sick. Had a sinus infection recently. The first episode is At the Hop. I can't believe this is the first episode. Because on TV tropes, this is pretty infamous. Because of how mean Sabrina is. And the whole thing could have been solved if Sabrina just talked to Maritza, or Maritza just explained why she asked Harvey to the dance a lot earlier. Like, it seems needlessly mean-spirited. Also, why is Sabrina so stupid that she needs the help of another witch to make a potion? She's 14 years old in this show. And I'm so used to Sabrina always making potions correctly. Although I can understand making a potion instead of casting a spell because it would conserve your magic. I guess Sabrina wants to beat Cassandra in the school fundraiser the proper way. Because she could just brainwash the people there into buying her cookie dough in monster mix boxes. Such a weird name. She goes to both normal school and magic school in the show for no reason. Because God forbid they show her in more interesting settings most of the time instead of just school. So Cassandra ruins what she's selling, turning all the mortals into monsters. So she's selling monster mix boxes on Earth. So it's just a weird title for it. And why can't Sabrina point to instantly return all the monsters to their normal forms? Granted, she wouldn't know what they all originally looked like. I mean, she would know for a few of them, but not for all of them. But all it would take is looking through her magic book and seeing which potions she needs to sprinkle over the town to turn them to normal. Why would Cassandra even do this instead of just brainwashing people into not buying Sabrina's cookie dough and so on? That would accomplish what she wanted just as well. I guess she just does it to spite mortals, but would the mortals mind being monsters? If they think they were always monsters, then it wouldn't really be spiteful. Well, that's creepy. That's like what Sabrina did to Archie in the first issue of the 70s comic, but she wasn't intending it to be forever, and she didn't do that to Harvey because she had standards. There's no reason that when Sabrina tries to reverse the spell, it wouldn't just return things to normal. I'm just so used to the fact that in the comics, every time Sabrina undoes her spell, it just gets undone. It's the end of the story. If she's that bad at undoing her spells, she should just carry around Dispel Pixie Dust. Because in the 2000s comic, there was a Dispel spell that conveniently undid every spell, even if it wasn't cast by you. Why would anyone want to see a whole bunch of scenes where Harvey's egotistical? Like, you have an evil witch character now. Shouldn't it be Cassandra who casts a spell on Harvey? The whole point of Sabrina is that she's supposed to be a goody two-shoes. So she's admirable compared to the other witches, and she's a superhero. Why would she struggle to find information on Till the Hun instead of just looking it up on the internet? This was released in 2003. I was going to school in the 2000s. We had the internet for as long as I could remember going to school. Why would she conjure up a monster to try to get information on him? Isn't it obvious that she would have a miserable time with him? Why wouldn't Cassandra also look up Genghis Khan on the internet? And also I have to assume that the spell they used automatically made them know English. The only way Attila the Hun and so on could be talking in English is if they were actually summoned from an alternate universe where they came from, people spoke English. Again, obviously. Just point and instantly return Attila the Hun and Genghis Khan to where they're supposed to be. Even Jem only spread rumors once. It makes sense that it would take a while for Sabrina to track down the source of the rumors. So there's a rumor mill? It seems confusing. People generally agree rumors are bad things. And like, the rumors were set free, so they're sentient people, but they were created, and witches hate fictional characters that were summoned. They don't think of them as people, they don't want to date them. So wouldn't they be fine with just blowing up Rumor Mill? It just seems like a confusing, abstract idea for an episode. I don't think they need to have a story about rumors are bad. Like, duh. People indulge in rumors because they assume that the rumor is accurate, so they think there's nothing wrong with it. Like, you're not gonna convince them. Cassandra's so desperate to get Harvey's attention that she'll force herself to deal with faking an arm injury. Wouldn't it be really annoying having to have your arm in a cast for a long time when it doesn't even need to be? I guess she thinks she's above zapping up a fake Harvey to date, because Enchantra thought she was above dating a fictional character. So Sabrina causes trouble, but at least this time it makes sense. And again, I have to assume that the worm that she created can't just be zapped away. Isn't that, like, incredibly unlikely? You'd think she could still use magic to summon other stuff that could hurt it and destroy instantly, like fire. I guess the episode's not gonna have the tact to explain that it's immune to magic, because it never really does in the previous show. On the surface, it seems like a fine episode, although it's not really fair to demonize Sabrina for being jealous, because you can't help being jealous. She shouldn't have ruined her potion, but the problem with the episode really is there's no reason that it would last so long. I don't know what things that are created from potions would be immune to magic. You'd think the Witches' Council would undo that. Really? Regular hair lotion can't make your hair smooth, silky, and curly? I guess this episode has a really low opinion of real hair lotion. I guess she used the magic lotion to conserve magic. They could have avoided the whole plot of her taking the lotion bottle if Sabrina just used a spell. But I can totally understand her wanting to conserve magic. There's no reason that it would turn everyone in school into werewolves after using it. That's stupid. I mean, it didn't do that to Sabrina. There must be something that isn't included in the episode summary, like... No, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not like it's specifically tailored to Sabrina's DNA, and so anyone else who uses it turns into a werewolf. Why would that be a thing that's done? Is that like a security thing to punish anyone who steals it and uses it on themselves? That's pretty extreme. That's pretty irresponsible considering that some witches live on Earth and they don't want magic to be revealed. Why would she give them to the whole school? If Cassandra's jealous, wouldn't she just use it on herself and leave it at that? And again, I have to assume that the lotion is immune to magic. Because otherwise, obviously Sabrina would just point and instantly undo the werewolf spell. I know she uses a wand. And that's very, very stupid if you're supposed to believe that this takes place after animated series instead of being an alternate universe. Which it obviously is if she always uses a wand. Every time I say she would just point, mentally replace point with she waves her wand. Like, it could have made sense that she always had to use a wand, because she's a half-witch. But it's too late to change that now. Any attempt to tie it into the animated series would just make it confusing. Oh, here's an idiot plot. Why wouldn't she stay in bed? How could she be so irresponsible as to go to a party when she's sick? Sabrina's supposed to be a good person. Can't she just zap up people to party with? Fake people? Like, it would be fine to spread the disease to fake people who are just gonna get zapped away after your party is done. Maybe she wanted to go to a party because Cassandra was in it. There's no reason to have her go through this after the Witchitis episode. There's no excuse for teaching the same lesson that the animated series already taught. Why would a broomstick need to be upgraded? You could just use magic on the broomstick and make it as wonderful as you want right away. So basically, Cassandra needs to be saved. So Sabrina would just use magic to warp her to safety. Is Dreamland a place where you can't use magic? There's no reason the Witches' Council would allow it to be like that because Cassandra's almost killed. It's a place where you see yourself as somebody else, based around what you want to see. Why would that have a possibility of killing you? It's supposed to be a comedy series. Why are you having a story that takes itself seriously? She's an omnipotent goddess. How could Salem become Sabrina's teacher? He was turned into a cat for trying to take over the world. That's like hiring a criminal. I know the fact that he wants to take over the world has nothing to do with whether he'd be a good history teacher or not. But society doesn't think like that. They don't care. I totally understand why he'd want to improve the world. I just assumed that he didn't want to improve it. He just wanted to be awesome and the ruler and rich and famous to be catered to. Because Salem is too selfish to actually want to improve the world in every aspect. So why would you want someone that selfish to be a teacher? Sabrina learns that it was important to study and that she should have paid attention in her class. What is she, 4 years old? I mean, isn't it common sense that you have to study for your tests? I just don't understand it because I got good grades in high school. I just can't sympathize with this. I mean, why are you teaching this lesson in a high school show? There's a lot better lessons you could teach. I mean, anybody who doesn't study for their tests is not going to decide to do so because they watch a TV episode. So there's a hamster that's wanted by supernatural people. Why didn't they just teleport him to them? Well, at least he's in a disguise. It would still tremendously suck for them, mentally, that they would have to shapeshift. Even if you're ugly, and you get made beautiful. There's documented cases of people who would just become depressed because of that, because they're not used to how they looked. So, you'd think he would be pretty depressed. At least Salem gets framed. Can't exactly sympathize with them after the animated series. How do you break out of a witch prison? That's always stupid. You'd think the prison would have a force field around it. If he can shapeshift himself, what does he think he needs to be any more powerful? Why would he try to drain Sabrina? It's as stupid as Gem. And being drained of her powers weakens her physically as well. There was no indication of that when Gem was draining her of her powers in the animated series. I mean, she bent over, but even then, she didn't fall into an enchanted sleep after losing a bit of her power to her. And I assume that when her power was being drained by Gem, Gem didn't get any of her power. She wouldn't get any of her power until the spell was actually done. And that's why Sabrina isn't weaker for the rest of the franchise after that point. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. If witches were real, it's not how I would picture a witch's life to be like. Her just arbitrarily having to deal with an escaped witch criminal. How likely is it that any random person would have to get framed by an escaped criminal? This show is all about teaching lessons. Well, I don't see what lesson this is about. Practically every episode of the animated series had a lesson. I guess every episode has a lesson here too. It isn't always in the summary, because it's so unimportant sometimes. Harvey could have easily not decided to try to play the lead character in a play, but whatever. Oh yeah, freak out mortals with an invisibility potion. Why do they have to go to the middle of nowhere to find an antidote for the potion? If they can get access to an invisibility potion, won't there be an antidote for it that's just as accessible? You'd think buying the invisibility potion would give you the antidote for free. Maybe Cassandra made the invisibility potion from scratch, but still. You'd think that the book she followed to make the invisibility potion would also have an antidote potion in its table of contents. I could understand if they have to find potion ingredients that are immune to magic to make the antidote. It's It's 2003 and we still have a story where Sabrina casts a love spell on someone. For no apparent reason. Why did she have to go to the netherworld to find an antidote to the spell? Why would it go out of control? She wouldn't want that, so it wouldn't happen. She would just point and undo it. Like Sabrina pointed and undid her love spell on Archie in the first issue of the 70s comic. I don't understand why she would use a love spell on some random adult just because she got jealous of somebody. And you know, Sabrina wouldn't have had to deal with getting jealous if she just brainwashed so that she could get the part of Juliet. There's no reason for her to think she's above that. Not only did she do that in the animated series multiple times with no hesitation, but the kind of evil shit she does in this show, she has no reason to think she's above anything after that first episode. Even if Maritza did want Harvey to dance with her instead of Sabrina, she'd still have no right to bother her with magic. Why would the duplication spell go wrong? Just another magic is the devil's work story. She wouldn't imagine it to be like that, so it wouldn't happen. There's no reason that the doppelganger would want to become the real Sabrina, because why would that be a part of the spell? Like, if they read off the magic book, the Witches' Council would get rid of that from the magic book. Politicians could get replaced by their doppelgangers. The writer just got jealous of them. I can't blame them for wanting to send their clones to school and go to a party. It's just busy work anyways. There's no reason they should have to go to a magic school anyways. Sabrina didn't have to go to one in the earlier comics. Obviously, she wasn't missing anything. The next episode is really stupid too. Why would they be surprised that they were joined at the heads? Like, the only reason they would become joined by the heads is if Sabrina imagined it, which she'd only do if she was reading out a sentence that talked about that. You'd think at this point she would read out the sentence before deciding to read out loud. There's no reason that the spell for a spelling bee would be like that. And obviously they would just use magic to instantly undo the spell. The writer just got jealous of Sabrina. It was obvious it was wrong for her to try to cheat at the spelling bee. But that's stupid. To have her find out she ran out of magic. Well, that's pretty mean of Cassandra and Sabrina. Why would they transform their own pets into dogs? Why wouldn't they just zap up dogs, come to think of it? Shouldn't they realize that it's meaningless that you beat someone at something if you cheated? Why even enter an actual contest? Make a contest of your own, with just you two. Then it would be fun. You're just proving which one is better at magic. There's no reason the spell would shrink her genes. If he's imagining them getting washed and dried, that's all that would happen. There's no reason magic would work in a way that you didn't visualize. He uses a spell, so he does have his powers. And there's no reason that he would say a spell that would have words that say shrink in them or whatever. So this is an excuse for an anorexia episode. I didn't know there was a cafeteria detention. There's no reason that this story would happen. She would just zap away her weight, like Hilda did in a 90s comic. Also, couldn't Salem just tell her, "Oops, I shrunk your jeans by accident," and avoid the whole plot? Why didn't he just zap up an exact copy of the jeans, except they're larger? Shrink to Fit was already a story about anorexia. You don't need another one. Well, you do, because Shrink to Fit completely screwed up teaching its lesson. At least this story does show that you can lose concentration if you starve yourself. That's a very important message. Although the kinds of people who would do that are probably not going to decide not to do that because they saw a TV episode about it. Because they're just that insecure about their weight. Sabrina should have learned her lesson already from Shrink to Fit. I can understand redoing the message to teach it right that time, but it just looks stupid if it's completely forced to happen. You can't do that message with a witch. It's not like her aunts dress like witches, and so she has extra pressure to feel superior by being more like a mortal, to have an identity for herself because of teenage rebellion. Then I understood. No, instead her aunts pressure her not to use magic, so she would be more inclined to use magic. My point is, you should have taught this lesson with Maritza instead of Sabrina. I barely see Maritza in any of the episode summaries. Like, what did the writers have against her? Sure, it's convenient for Sabrina that her aunts went to a spa to become more beautiful instead of just using magic on themselves. I guess it's more about the experience. Yeah, this is a stupid conclusion too. If she didn't visualize the person as a baby, they wouldn't turn into a baby. I shouldn't even have to explain that. If magic doesn't work like that, how would it work? Why would she even say a spell? Like, practically any time she says a spell, it backfires on her. And obviously, there's no reason that the baby would keep being a baby. She would just instantly use magic to return it to her old age. Yeah, the history of magical creatures is so important. They have to know about that to possibly survive in their adult life. Magic school is completely stupid. It's so petty of Cassandra to even care about the idea that someone took her expensive necklace, because she could just zap up an identical copy of it. She didn't take it, but it really doesn't matter. If she wants it, she could just let her have it. She already paid for the necklace, and I assume she only bought it to be nice, since she could have just zapped it up. So she already did the good deed. Just settle for a copy, doesn't matter. So why doesn't Sabrina just teleport baby D back to its mother? I don't see how it's funny. She's not like Patrick Star, but the show isn't that self-aware. I assume that the rarest herb known to witches is immune to magic. This very molecular structure is enchanted by the Witches' Council, so that's impossible to just zap it up. I assume they do that because otherwise the people selling herbs would go to business. It's a capitalist conspiracy. Otherwise, there's no reason that Sabrina would go on a mission to find a MacGuffin. She would just point and magically get it. You know, with her wand. There are clumsy people that spill stuff in real life. It could have easily not happened, but it's just barely believable. Still, I'm not used to Sabrina being clumsy. She could have very easily not caused this problem. And the story has them have to deal with a Cyclops. A witch versus an antagonist that isn't a witch herself isn't going to make for a good plot. The witch could just brainwash the antagonist or warp them away if they're against brainwashing or killing. No reason for them to have any sort of trouble. Why don't they just teleport to the field instantly? If they walked there or flew a broom there. Cassandra can't really be that evil because she enters competitions, but she doesn't just brainwash the judge into making her the winner. Like, why would Cassandra even do a complicated method using magic to spite the other contestants if she could just brainwash the judge into calling her the winner? It's just as evil either way, so there's no reason for her to think she's above one. Couldn't anybody ask Harvey to the backward dance? Consent is a valuable thing, so Harvey would just say no if he didn't like the person. So what's really going on is the winner of a bet between Sabrina and Cassandra gets to ask Harvey. Who cares who wins the bet? Ask him anyways. I never understand this in Archie comics either. Like, if you lost a bet, that doesn't mean that you have to go through with the conditions. You have free will. They just ask him anyways. And of course, they cheat. I could have sworn the 70s Sabrina was above cheating at competitions with her magic. What's the point of Sabrina if she's not going to be a good person? You should have just had Esmeralda instead of Sabrina. You could have had Sabrina be an adult at that point. She could be in the position that the aunts are in. So you could still have Sabrina be in the show. So the existence of the green worm seems arbitrary. Why would you think that she needs to rely on a magic gold dial? Sabrina's traveled back in time with the spell herself in the 90s comic. There's no reason she wouldn't read the manual. And I'm guessing the way that everything backfired was also total bullshit. Just the writer being jealous of somebody who wants to be in two places at once and logically would be. And her aunts could have easily not given her that crystal ball too. Why would they do that? Surely her aunt would be aware of all the trouble magic causes her because she's a complete idiot. Why would they give her another magical artifact? Especially if Zelda still hates magic in this show, while using it herself. The episode summary here is written confusingly. Why would Sabrina cancel her friendship with Maritza when Sabrina forgot to help her with her project? I would think Maritza would cancel the friendship, but it seems out of character of her. Unless she really is just like Chloe, where she's got mean moments, to the point where that's all I remember about her. Sabrina's supposed to be a good person. Why would she forget to help her with her science project? What's the point of Sabrina if she doesn't care about helping people? And they arbitrarily discover a magic mirror. Why would it be at the magic school? You'd think they wouldn't put it at the magic school because it would endanger kids. Seems to be a really interesting premise after that though. Everyone at Greendale High is a witch in this alternate world. Except for Sabrina and Cassandra. That sounds interesting because you never know what magic is going to be used next. Wish the premise wasn't forced though. You could have just had Sabrina decide to go to that universe with her own power because it may be fun. And I'm guessing the plot is that everyone abuses their magic there because the writer hates witches. A lot of the time it's the same writer. There's so many other franchises where witches are always evil. Why even watch this show? I wish the episode summary explained why the evil Talk gets released. Who would do that? The plot could have been avoided if he had just been executed or turned into a rock. In the sitcom, plenty of people were turned into inanimate objects for pissing off the Witches' Council. So she turned Salem into a student to hide him. So apparently the Witches' Council cat spell can be undone for this duration by a random half-witch. He could just keep casting that human spell on himself. I mean, sure, he'd run out of magic faster that way, but only slightly. Why would he ever put up with being a cat then? Wouldn't she just use magic on Talk? Wouldn't she just turn him to a rock? Does she somehow think she's above brainwashing to make him nice? And the next story is about how littering is bad, and it tells you that in such an over-the-top way. Why would Witches' Council keep creatures whose aims are to pollute towns and turn witches into statues around? Wouldn't the entire Witches' Council combine their magic with every other witch to get rid of every single creature like that? If they think they're above execution and brainwashing them into being fine with witches, well, like, they're an always chaotic evil race somehow. Such a racist trope. Why don't they just turn the creatures into harmless cats? That would be perfectly fine. Gee, Cassandra's presence does nothing but make Sabrina a petty bitch. All it does to make her abuse her magic more. I mean, you could say that about Gem too, but it just adds to the abuse of magic in the show if we have a gem that can fight back. That doesn't sound fun to watch. Like, the final episode is just about their petty bickering with each other, but I don't like either of them. Why would a character from the play itself come to life and turn up and bother them? Wouldn't they just turn him into a harmless kitty cat? Yeah, Sabrina could do that with all the magical antagonists she has to deal with in the later stupid comics. Well, that sounds like a stupid show. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like its plots are as bad as the animated series. But that's because Spooky isn't in it. So I don't have to ask, why the hell did she use Spooky?